radio check. Just make sure you can hear me okay. I think very good. I had actually had turned it down for some reason. I got it turned back up now. So, guys got the slides. We got the folks here on the conference call as well. So, I'm not going to go through and read the slides verbatim. I think you guys got those. But as I mentioned on the briefing on EMA Maine, looking at the potential for tonight, we have a system that's fairly weak that's going to be moving in from the northwest, and not a lot of precipitation. I'm not picking up on much with it, but I do fear that we could see a little bit of patchy light snow moving in from West Tennessee. It may affect southern Tennessee and northwest Alabama late tonight, towards sunrise and into the to the kind of morning hours tomorrow. In the gridded forecast, we did put a little bit of accumulation in for tomorrow morning, mainly kind of in the Shoals area, west of kind of Huntsville to like Moulton. We put in a couple of tenths of an inch there across the Shoals. They could cause a few travel impacts to the morning if this system holds together. Looking at the Memphis and Nashville's forecast, they have a few tenths in their forecast as well. So I think our forecast, the officers are kind of thinking the same thing for tomorrow morning. The main kind of forecast issue is as the system kind of gets cranking to our west, we're going to see a lot of warm air that starts to kind of pull northward, and it's going to pull moisture with it during the midday and afternoon hours. We're going to see a fair amount of mixed precipitation overspread the area midday, afternoon, and evening. Current projections are that the majority of this is going to be probably maybe initially sleet, but mostly big rain, as we're going to have a lot of warm air aloft, and the low levels are still going to be fairly cold for temperatures below freezing or right at freezing through much of the midday into the afternoon hours. That is particularly true probably north of the line from like Albertville to say Falkville to maybe Phil Campbell, north of that line. Into the evening, temperatures to kind of level off, as Jim kind of mentioned down in Birmingham. So I'm particularly concerned about a period of freezing rain that may be accumulating, particularly across our northern and northeastern counties. For that reason, we are issuing a winter weather advisory that would cover kind of our central, southern, and western counties, beginning tomorrow morning to cover some snowfall and also to cover the light accretions of ice. And that winter weather advisory is going to run through the afternoon and evening hours tomorrow. We are also going to be issuing the winter storm warning that's going to cover southern Tennessee for those folks in Lincoln County that are listening in on the call, and for Franklin and Moore counties on the conference call. Also going to cover Madison County, DeKalb County, and Jackson County for more significant accumulations of ice. The combination of the models here, I'm a little bit concerned the cold air is going to be hard-pressed to get pulled out of our far northern or eastern counties. In fact, some of the models are showing eastern parts of Jackson County, Franklin County, Tennessee, and DeKalb County staying below freezing almost noontime on Saturday. So could see a fairly significant ice storm, at least for a period of time across those areas, say, east of Scottsboro, up in the higher terrain, east of Fort Payne. So that's pretty much the issue that prompted the winter storm warning. Madison County is a little bit more marginal, but the northern parts of the county, we had upwards of 0.3 of an inch of ice when we were in. So we felt like it was warranted to put Madison in the winter storm warning. Conditions should improve dramatically tomorrow evening. Western counties, The temperatures as they warm from west to east, we'll see a continued improvement tomorrow. That's in our far northern and our eastern counties. It'll be much more into the early, maybe mid parts of Saturday before we see some improvement. Guys already sort of have the slides. I won't go into all the details. Again, the snow is somewhat going to be a light event. The bigger event is going to be the ice accretion, and that's the last slide that you have where, we're looking at upwards to, almost 4/10 of an inch possible up in southern Tennessee and maybe far northeastern Alabama. With that, I'll open up the questions on the talk group for those who may have questions or need clarification. Western County Huntsville. Go ahead, Mike.
What is the timing do you think that we could start having sleet and freezing rain?
This is for you, Mike. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot tomorrow morning. I think the snow that may move in and affect some of the areas in the morning, I think the likelihood of you seeing a lot tomorrow morning is pretty low. My guess is it would be afternoon before you see a whole lot, and maybe after 1 or 2 o'clock before you see a whole lot of activity up in your area. So I think, even though we have I'm going to take a look at the timing here. The winter warning starts at noon tomorrow, but I really think that, I don't think you're going to see a whole lot, maybe to right at early afternoon period. So I think the morning for your area is probably going to be okay. The western counties, the far northern, maybe up in southern Tennessee, may see some activity earlier. I think things can get a little dicey as you get into mid-afternoon and certainly toward dark there in your county.
So you think the freezing rain and the sleet conditions will be later about evening for us as well?
But that's the problem. I mean, we got this kind of wedge, or what they call cold air damming, so the colder air is it's going to kind of be still filtering. Northeastern part of Alabama, so it's going to be, very tough to scour it out. So you're probably going to be your eastern part of your counties are going to be the last to clear, or last to get above freezing. And it could be mid-morning Saturday or even late morning Saturday before you get above freezing.
Okay, Chris, thanks a lot.
County, the Huntsville weather. Our transportation officials want to know about the rush hour in the morning. As if the snow is going to be in the Huntsville area and possibly causing problems at that time.
I'm looking at some of the model guidance. I'm looking at some of the upstream projections right now. I'm confident that we'll see accumulating snowfall here in Madison. I think Madison County, excuse me. I think that the higher probability is going to be maybe across the shoals. I certainly can't rule it out, but I think the higher concern is going to be maybe our four or five western counties, maybe from it's hard to pinpoint. But I'd say, west of Decatur, west of Athens, there's a better shot. Look at the trajectory of where the better kind of forcing might be moving in. If I had to say a yes or no, I would say, these are going to be okay. But that's the old famous last words. But in terms of where we have put the snow amount and measurable snow, we don't have any measurable snowfall in Madison County by rush hour in the morning. No.
Lawrence weather. Based on what you're telling everyone else, looks like the time frame for Lawrence County to get some freezing rain or precipitation is from noon to 1.
Johnny, we do have a little bit of light snow accumulation in your northern parts of your county around sunrise tomorrow morning with that weak little system. It's very light. I mean, we're talking about probably a dusting, maybe north of Moulton, something like that. But in terms of accumulating precipitation that would cause some major issues, I would say I'm going back and looking at some of the new data that is now just coming in. and I would say about noontime. Yeah, I'd say about noontime. It seems pretty consistent. Maybe late morning in the Shoals area, we see some accumulating precipitation that's starting to change over. There's just so much warm air aloft. I don't see. I mean, it's very possible the afternoon stuff could start out as a brief period of snow, but it's just so warm aloft that I can't see any way that we're going to see that much snow in the afternoon, because the new models are coming in much warmer as they're so off to do down in the south down here as the system gets close. This is Lauderdale. Time frame, are you anticipating it entering our area, and are you anticipating kind of wind speed and total ice accumulation for our county? As far as the wind speed first, I think the winds are going to be mostly southeast. They may stay up a little bit in the night, like southeast, but during the day tomorrow, you're probably looking at southeast winds around 10 miles per hour, maybe even up to 15 miles per hour. Again, that far west, you may see a little bit of light snow tonight that could accumulate toward morning, maybe a light dusting to maybe a quarter of an inch. In terms of the mixed precip to freezing rain, you can see some in there by late morning in the Lauderdale County. I said the good news in Lauderdale County, temperatures could warm above freezing by late evening, potentially. There, it just depends on how strong the warm advection is moving northward. You guys will be the first area, county warning area, that will get above freezing tomorrow evening. You have the lowest threat, I think, of really significant icing, but you could see several hours tomorrow afternoon where you get the sleet and freezing rain. Right now, we have the total ice accumulation in y'all's area of about a tenth of an inch. Cause some issues, I think, but you're not looking at a significant ice storm of any consequence, I don't think. I think that's Anthony. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Just to clarify a little bit, is this going to be from west to east over us, or is this going to be more cold air coming north to south? What I was trying to do is see how we could anticipate it coming across the state or down from Tennessee. Which way is it going to move over us?
Meteorologically, it's actually a very interesting setup. The warm air is overtopping kind of from the west-southwest. The cold air in the low levels is trying to stay entrenched from the east. So you kind of got reversed. You kind of got flow that's sort of opposite itself, but the moisture is going to be moving in kind of from the mid-Mississippi Valley region, so it's going to be moving in from the west to the east. So if you're going to be monitoring radar tomorrow, you're going to want to be monitoring what's occurring across northern Mississippi, what's going on like in Oxford area, Ishmingo County, what's going to be moving in from that direction. And that's why I say, probably what's going to be occurring in the show. 6-7. That's why when you blow on your nose, you're probably getting a nosebleed. But so once the air mass finally saturates, it's going to precipitate very quickly. You may just see some echoes on the radar in the morning, like even snow that may not reach the ground because it's going to take a while to saturate. You finally see the precipitation start going, it's going to move east very, very quickly. But you're going to want to monitor what's occurring on the radar from the west.
Huntsville weather is Madison County again. Some of our local schools is wanting to know an anticipated time, and you think the frozen precipitation will start. Not necessarily the snow, but the sleet and the ice.
It's kind of similar to what I think it was similar to the question we had earlier. I'd say, kind of it could be in here by midday. The models sometimes are a little bit we have kind of issue with they're too slow bringing the precip in. In this case, with the dry air, it may take a little while to saturate. I would say, noonish time, early afternoon, perhaps. I think it was Mike that asked about Jackson County. It could be an hour or two before that. I think once it gets going, it's going to be going pretty quickly. It may not be real heavy at first, but it certainly could be a concern by midday. I know that's the worst time. I know the superintendents don't like to hear midday, but I think it's real possible that we could see it around noontime starting to move in.
That's what.
I will say this, I can't make decisions for the school. Certainly it's not my job, but, if tough call for half a day or something, as we get closer to the event, we get another model run this evening we'll get another model run about 7 or 8 o'clock, and within 24 hours of the event, we get a lot of more high-resolution data. You should be able to pretty well peg the event by then. So, if it's one of those things where they want to hold off, then within 24 hours of the event, it should be able to fairly well peg the initiation time or at least the lead in of the rainfall at a specific point. Although they're fairly consistent right now with showing late morning or mid-morning in the west, midday, and that sort of thing. So confident in the timing, but if they want to hold off, we'll get one more run in this evening. Just pretty well, I think, cinch it.
The representatives from the schools heard your transmission there. Can you advise on what time your model data will be in? They may check back for an update after that time.
Honestly, I think, the 6 p.m. model runs, they would be in 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, I think we would have a pretty solid idea at that point. 8 p.m. Do you think you can give another briefing update then at 8 o'clock? Probably could do one on the top group. I don't think there's a need to do one on the main, but we could do a top group 21 kind of a briefing, at 8 o'clock, and kind of give you an update, certainly on the timing. We're definitely going to have it for them to make a good decision on who's tomorrow. I understand. Let me be clear. I'm definitely sensitive on the timing. The schools have been delayed, and my wife's the substitute teacher, so she knows the drill too. So, I don't want the schools to be out all day. They don't have to be out all day for sure. And we're sensitive to the situation. We're sensitive to the economic stuff. So, any way we can help you guys out, we certainly want to. So, we'll do an 8 o'clock briefing, and it may not be another set of slides necessarily, depending on the timing that the evening shift has. But we can do a briefing at 8 o'clock and kind of give you an update at least on the timing and how things are looking in terms of the threat level. And I'll pass that along to the shift that comes in, and that will give them plenty of time to assess the situation and look at the new model data. Also, just real quickly, you've got Jackson County and DeKalb County in the winter storm warning. So I'm assuming, based on that most of the significant icing is going to be in the northern portion of both of those counties. We talked about Marshall County too, and it's interesting. I think the bigger threat for Jackson and DeKalb counties is the eastern part of the counties. Maybe northern and Jackson too, but it's interesting. The freezing line, I think, is going to be very sharp from east to west tomorrow, where up on the eastern parts of DeKalb County, for instance. I'm actually looking at the map here to give an example. It could be over like in Cartersville area. Valley Ed could be 31, 32, and literally Geraldine could be 39. Morning. So that's how sharp the temperature difference is. There's actually one model I was looking at by late morning tomorrow morning. I'm not saying it's right, but late morning, it had the eastern part of County 31 degrees, and it had the western part of Franklin County 50 degrees.